Gerard, what an honor to have you on the Modern Warrior podcast with me today. How are you doing, my man?
Honestly, it's been a tough week, and I'm excited for this conversation, and really love the name of your podcast, man. The Modern Warrior. That's fire. Thanks for having me on the show.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So, a tough week. We're into the early stages of 2025. What's contained within this toughness at the moment? Can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, I look at life like a ceremony, and I've recognized that I'm consistently on this path of death and rebirth, and I feel that I'm going through a new cycle right now, and I'm really excited about it. But with anything new that's kind of coming into light, you kind of got to go through the dark, and I feel that. I feel things are kind of coming to the surface. I feel there's a little more chaos than I expected in the beginning of this year, and it's all beautiful. At the same time, there's like all these new opportunities coming in, and it's having me really into more of my practice, a little more into my discernment, into more of my prayer, and just really surrendering also into the new healing that's taking place, um, and this death that is happening for me.
You're no stranger to chaos, I believe, and you are a man who has created incredible success in your life, amazing success on the outside. If you took a moment though and reflected back on the beginning of that journey for you
Mm.
and identified perhaps the fuel that you stored in the engine in order to take that journey on, what was the fuel? What was the inspiration that you
Mm.
felt drove you to this incredible success or these incredible successes in your life?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a really powerful one and one that I contemplate a lot about. Um, my father got interviewed after I sold my last company. It was really cool. It's Forbes that kind of went and wanted to interview my dad, and they asked him, "What's the number one trait that, if he were to describe me in one trait, what would it be?" And he said resilience. And I was like, wow, like I love that word. And I really started pondering, like, where did that resilience come from? Because I'll tell you, it's taken a lot of resilience to overcome a lot of the obstacles and hurdles. A lot of people ask me to come on their shows or on their stages because of the successes, and everybody knows the highlight reel of social media or Wikipedia, but essentially, um, we talked about this a little bit earlier, actually, in the sense that all that success, the bigger the success, most of the time, the bigger the depths of the pain and the struggle and the failure, quote unquote. And I think what's really fueled that resilience for me is legacy, but in the sense that I connect legacy to not just what I'm creating now for future generations, but really the legacy of my lineage. And I think about, being American. My mother immigrated here at 12 years old as a Colombian Ecuadorian. She suffered greatly to become a citizen, and they lost everything in a fire at a very young age with her brothers and sisters. She was the oldest of five. My mother had cried to me at one point when I had lost millions of dollars and I felt I was at a rock bottom moment. She was like, "Look, they can take everything away from you, all the money, all the possessions, but they can never take this, and they can never take this." And she pointed to my head and my heart. She was like, "So you get out there and you do it again." And I think that just seeing my mother and father, I was grateful to grow up with both parents, both extremely hardworking. My mom worked 6 7 days a week at a supermarket. It was actually my first job as a young teenager, and my father worked as an executive at what now is $1 trillion company, which is pretty cool, Prudential. And I was a troublemaker growing up, really got bullied a lot I had a near death experience at a very young age, getting bullied. caused me to join a gang at a very young age, and kind of take some of these entrepreneurial approaches that I didn't know was entrepreneurship when I was a kid. So I just felt really different, but just was really, because of feeling that way and because of seeing the lineage that were immigrants, and knowing about that and seeing how hard my parents worked and being bullied, it all was like this recipe for me that kind of made me this underdog. And that's who I love to serve, are the fucking underdogs, you know? And I felt like an underdog all my life. And there's something about an underdog that if you really know how to leverage it, and not look at it as like a, as a negative thing, or but you can really turn it into something powerful, man. And that turns into grit, and that turns into resilience and determination, and that's what it did for me. And so it was this drive to become successful, to make my lineage proud for this, what they had to go through to get me in this position. And then so many people doubted me, and it was like all that happened at a young age was like, all right, it's time for me to stand up for myself. No one's going to do it for me.
Hmm. There's a lot of similarities there that I find in my own story and background. And as you're speaking there, I'm thinking of my own parents and the sacrifices they had to make. My father came from an island that was off the coast of Ireland, and he left there when he was a young kid, 13, went to work and serve his family who were still on the island. And he continued that service on to myself, my brother, and my family, and incredible sacrifices in terms of the business that he worked in and eventually bought to give us the life that we wanted. But within all that too, I was bullied. I was bullied from the age of 5 until I was maybe 12, 13, on and off. So I can appreciate the struggles in that.
Mm.
However, for me, I turned that pain into fuel. So the pain of feeling vulnerable or weakened when you are being attacked due to your vulnerabilities, that inspired me to create a lot of the successes in my life. You know, winning powerlifting competitions, winning kickboxing competitions, building my business later on in life, and then realizing that none of those things actually served the thing that I needed the most, which was
Mm.
the internal healing that was required for the pain that was caused in my earlier years. So, do you feel at some point in your own journey, having created all these successes, having become this incredible businessman, entrepreneur, you stop and realize, ah, hang on, this isn't it. It's something else. You
Yeah.
get that?
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, bro. And uh, yes, I'd love to do some have some time with you kickboxing. And it's cool to hear that you had a similar experience. And I think you just bring up a really great point, because it did turn into fuel for me as well to create success, but it was unintegrated. So really, I was this hurt little boy for so long, still trying to prove myself, whether it was to my parents or to society. And the thing is that works. You know what I mean? Like you put on the masks, and you just drive forward with that pain. And I sacrificed a lot of my relationships, and all I cared about was money, girls, women, exotic cars, yachts, all the things, right? All the possessions. And then, yeah, you're right. You get to a point. For me, it was after selling my second company. I was turning 30 years old, selling a company for 50 million. I'm on the balcony of a penthouse that I'm getting in Florida, because my accountant said, "Hey, you have millions of dollars coming into the account. Florida is a good place for you to save on state income tax." So I'm there, and I just, in that moment, I kind of just asked God, like, why did this all happen? Um, and I felt so depressed, like I had a hole in my stomach, like in my chest. Like I just felt depressed. And I'm like, what the hell is this about? Like I'm selling a company and no one secretly knows that I'm feeling so empty inside. And that was I had never thought about healing or anything like that. It was just all about like entrepreneurship and grit and grind and hustle hard, team no sleep. And so I never slowed down to actually look in the mirror, to actually get real with myself. And so now all of a sudden, when I really have the financial freedom and I did do it again and I have that, it was just like I was faced with having to look at myself in the mirror at that moment. Um, and I was invited. It kind of really started with Bufo. I don't know if you're familiar with 5-MeO DMT, but I did an event for 300 entrepreneurs, and I had a speaker that came over to speak, who's a dear friend of mine, Daniel DiPiazza, epic guy that is is an amazing jujitsu artist and practitioner, and he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go see my shaman," and you know, there's this plant medicine called Bufo, 5-MeO VMT, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And he invites me to go sit with this, and I had just given a speech about doing the uncertain thing, the uncomfortable thing, the hard things in life, and so I was like, you know what, this sounds uncertain and uncomfortable, hard, and I go and I sit down and with this facilitator and inhale this Bufo, and that just shifted so much for me, man. I that was the first time I actually was faced with death in a new way, and I thought like I literally was dying, and there was no way out but through, and I had to fully surrender. Like, all right, I fucked up. Like this is it. Like I don't know what I'm thinking doing this, and I just didn't. There was no way out, and I was so scared and like thought my life was going to be over. And then when I finally just let go and surrendered, there was just this peace and this connection to God that I had never felt before. And really, what it opened up for me was like self love. I had never thought about self love. And it had me really feel that for the first time. Love for who I am, love for my life, beyond the possessions, beyond the money, beyond the external validation. And that kind of helped me to reboot, like reboot myself. And that's when I started letting go of the need to prove myself anymore. And I went into this new mountain. My curriculum is around a concept called the three mountains. And I think the first mountain is really when we're going after the financial success, trying to prove ourselves. We kind of achieve that mountain. We come down, we go up the second mountain, which is like, I'm seeking purpose. And so then we go and we start to build this relationship spiritually. We start to actually get more in tune with who we are. We start serving from a place of purpose, but we're still somewhat operating from the original operating system from there's still this hustle, and that kind of, we start leading with purpose, but there's still more work to do. And I believe that that is when we get ready to embark on this like third mountain that essentially is leading from the heart and the spine, actually fully integrating yourself. Because in the second mountain, we can kind of get so into the healing that we get so much into our feminine that we actually don't really integrate the masculine, the true masculine, the divine integrated sacred masculine. And I feel that when we do that, that's when we can really now have that balance of heart and spine, leading with purpose, but also leading with conviction. And that's where I'm at now.
I love that analogy of the three mountains. I'm listening to you, and I'm trying to understand or trying to find out which mountain I'm currently on at the moment, because of, like yourself, that our paths are quite similar in terms of our healing. And I've done a couple of psychedelic retreats, and I've done two psychedelic retreats. The first one was a mind blower, and it was with psilocybin, the two psilocybin retreats with mushrooms, and it gave me a lot of answers in terms of why I'm here and why I'm doing what I'm doing. But
Mhm.
then the second psilocybin retreat, which is about 6 months later, um, allowed me to let go of a lot of the shame and pain that I've been carrying with me, that had been influencing what I thought was my purpose in life. So letting go, as you mentioned, of the fear, the shame, the guilt, the past, so I could fully embrace in the present and really immerse myself in the purpose that I have here in this life. And as you know, the work is not done on these retreats. The work is done afterwards. You're given certain information or awareness around your life, and then you learn how to integrate it. And that's still a process for me. It's been about 6 months since that last retreat, maybe a little bit longer, and I'm wondering what amount I'm on. Maybe the very fact that I'm questioning it means I'm still on the second one. so I think I need to join you in this third one at some point.
Yeah,
But
part.
what for you? What does that mean though? The divine masculine. I have a unfair understanding of it, but if you were to simplify that to a man who's listening to us today, who's only heard the term divine masculine for the first time and is about to switch this podcast off because he goes, I don't get this, so I can't relate. How can we break it through to this individual that this is something that he needs to attain in his life, or at least strive towards in his life, to be fully free as a man in today's world?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I mean, we hear these terms: divine masculine, sacred masculine. Uh, Sometimes these words can really throw it off, and for me, it's really simple. And you mentioned the word integration, but I think it's when we are integrated in the wisdom of who we are. It is when we are aligned to the true essence of who we are as men, leading an imbalance with both what I said is like heart and spine. And so being able to lead with compassion, but also conviction, to be able to be soft, but also strong, and to have the integrity and the discernment to lead from that place where it can be trustworthy, not just for others, but within yourself. You're no longer making decisions based on external things. You're doing the things that you're doing because of your true core values and being integrated with those core values. You're walking the path and not just talking about it anymore. You're really being it. And so for me, I think that's a lifelong journey. It doesn't mean perfection. I think as men, we're all broken in ways. We're all imperfect. Um, and it's a matter of like just actually every day walking that path of owning and taking a full accountability for how you show up, um, and um, and giving yourself grace along the way for when you do fuck up, when you make the mistakes. Allowing yourself to have that grace as well, to be willing to be vulnerable, to ask for support when you need it, know when to lead, when it's time for you to answer the call to lead. Also know when it's time for you to follow. It's having a level of humility, um, as well as having the self-worth to know that you are worthy of leading your family, your business, your purpose, and that's your God-given right. God is, I think, made us all in his image. And so I believe that, psychedelics played a big role for me in coming into the first and second mountain. I think in the third mountain, it's embodiment and knowing that we are the medicine. We don't even need anything else anymore. Psychedelics or any of these things, it's, for me, it's Jesus, but it's coming into a full embodiment of my greatness and knowing that. And so that's what I would say. Pretty big answer, but that's what comes through for me.
No, I'm with you there. And as you said, I'm walking up that third mountain at the moment, and you've mentioned the heart and the spine, but I feel a lot of men are disconnected from their mind to their hearts.
Mm.
So too much in their head, not enough in their body, too much in the mind, not enough in the heart. And then they make mindless decisions which cause a lot of destruction in their life. And that was me, and I'm sure that was you for a very long time. Was just all head, all go, all move. Fuck your feelings, fuck emotions. I've got to get after it. I've got to become the man, get the money, get the girls, win the competitions, so I can be the man. And you realize, shit, this is not what I'm looking for, and the thing you're looking for is not going to be found out here, as you know. It's found within you, within this head heart connection. And a lot of men will cringe at that. A lot of men will cringe at this idea of practicing feminine energy, that you have to be all masculine all the time. This toxic David Goggins message of stay hard. It's like, no, that's staying hard all the time is the very reason you're struggling all the time. If you're staying hard all the time, you're rigid, you're tense, you're anxious, you're not moving anywhere. And it separates, as I said, your mind from your heart. And for me, at least, and it sounds like you're on a similar mission, is it's now about reconnecting the heart with my mind, and yeah, integrating both of those, connecting both of those, so that then is it's like a full embodiment of who I am, instead of operating only from the head and disconnect from the heart. But so there's a separation there within me, but now it's bringing that together so I can lead and inspire and live my life with a sense of deep purpose, which is purpose is not about me. Purpose is knowing why you're here, and that you're here to serve others through the power of God or the universe or some divine energy, and that works through you in order to save other men or other people. So I feel you're on a similar mission there. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to me too because I feel it's really this balance because I think for some men, it's what you're talking about is getting them to drop from their head to their heart. And I mean, not just for some. I mean, all of us need to, in my opinion, we all get to learn how to do that because we all have, in my opinion, I speak for myself. Like I have been hardened, and most of the men that I have trained, that I've worked with, that I am, going up these mountains beside. I mean, we've all had certain things that have hardened us, and that have had us feel unsafe to drop into feeling and into our bodies and into our hearts. And I find a lot of men also have gotten there, and they're really struggling to integrate the spine and even the mind. Like they're so in their feelings that they're confused, that they are kind of oscillating and not deciding and driving forward as a man to execute. And so it's really that
Yeah.
balance. It's really like it's coming into that balance, and that's something that I'm still working on every single day and still practicing. But what you're saying is 100% true. It's very true.
Yeah. There's a fear around our feelings because when we express those feelings in the past, they were potentially used against us, or it resulted in some painful consequence through not being heard or not being seen or being or feeling rejected due to the reaction or lack thereof of the very person that we wanted, that we needed, in order to feel safe. So yeah, there's fear around feelings, which is again the feelings are associated with the heart. So you disconnect it. Say, okay, I can't allow myself to feel, because when I do so, it could result in pain, as it did in the past. So it's not a safe place for me. It's not a safe thing to do. And then they use substances, they use porn, they use sex or drugs or alcohol in order to feel.
Mm.
So yeah,
Or to
yeah, I
or to
get that.
numb,
And
to even numb even more from
or
the feeling.
yeah, to numb. Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. What is the state of masculinity in your own wise opinion today? Where do you see this? Where do you see us as men in today's world?
Yeah, for me, I feel like there's two sides of the coin. I definitely think that we have a war against masculinity that has been happening. Um,
What does that look like in the States? Because I don't think is it's as evident here in Europe or in Ireland yet,
yeah.
but I've had many speakers on this podcast from the States, and it's something that often comes up. It's the war against masculinity. To you, what defines that? What's your
Yeah,
definition
I
of this
feel
war?
that it's a number of things. I think for one, we've had a lot of confusion that has happened politically with genders here, and that kind of has it really affected a lot of young men and children as to what's a boy, what's a girl, and like I think that there's things that have been at play there, in my opinion. And I think also it's just a lot of this toxic masculinity verbiage being thrown around so much, um, and I feel that there's been just a huge wave of the feminism that has happened that I feel we're part of creating because women haven't trusted us. They don't trust us. And so it's our job to create that trust again. And I feel though that we have a lot of work to do for sure. But on the other side of the coin, I feel like as men, we're doing the work. And I'm just like, man, like I feel like women are more evolved than we are, especially when it comes to their emotional intelligence. A lot of what we've seen as strength as men growing up, it's not the same anymore. Now we live in a technological world, so a lot of the things that we were seen as valuable for back in the Roman Empire and back in the olden days, we were building and doing a lot of these different things, crossing states and countries by ship. And nowadays I think with technology, the masculinity has shifted a lot as to what makes us valuable. um, I think we have had to adapt to that, and I feel uh, that we are I feel like now we are coming into that balance where we are able to lead from the heart, like you were talking about. And yeah, I feel what else is creating this divide. I think it's a lot of abandonment. There's been a lot of men that have gone to war. I think my grandfather went to World War II. That a level of war back in growing up has created a level of we're meant to be soldiers and go to war that has hardened us so much, and that kind of has gone through a lot of lineages, especially here in the States. Of that for I'll speak for myself, that impacted my dad. My father had a lot of trauma from his father from World War II, a lot of rage, a lot of pain, a lot of anger that they didn't know how to process. I mean, they went to war at such young ages and had so much stripped from them. And that's my family. I mean, God knows how many families around the world have gone through that kind of suffering. Men have had to go to war. And so my dad, it taught him how to be tough, but he was hardened as fuck. So me growing up, like I had a hardened, like my father taught me how to be tough, but he took a lot of shit out on me, and that's kind of, I was still lucky. I even have a dad. You know what I mean? Like I look at it as like I was a blessing. A lot of people in America have had fatherless homes. A lot of women want to be the mom and dad. They want to kick the dad out. They talk bad. They talk negatively about the fathers. And like there's been a war around like keeping the father away from kids. There's been a lot of men that haven't taken responsibility as well. And I feel that now it's really important for us to be really devoted fathers, to be present fathers. I think we're, as millennials, we're waking up to what it means to be a father and what it means to be a man, and and what is the value we can bring to society. That what does that look like now for 2025 and going forward versus what it looked like back in the day? It's different. Um, and so, yeah, I think there's just a lot of different variables that played into the war around masculinity. But I do feel
Yeah,
that on the other side of the coin, it's all perfect. We're really waking up, and we're finally coming into this awareness of I feel our value, our worth, and again, like actually how to feel and heal a lot of the shit that we've inherited from the men before us that had to sacrifice so much for us to be here. And it just there's a lot there, man. There's a lot of trauma and the chains that we need to break and things that we need to heal from that, and what would have been the role models for us. And through that, though, we are really, I think it's really exciting to see that we're coming into this balance. I love seeing so many men's movements like yours. And so men are really wanting to do this work and come together in community. I think we've isolated a lot over the years, especially after COVID. And now men are coming together, and I think that's amazing because we lost touch with that for a long time. These rite of passages is historical, and here in the States we don't have rite of passages, and so I think now we're seeing that concept being brought back in a modern way, and that being in community is also healing us and is also allowing us to get back to our primal roots, healing what needs to be healed, and then integrating and moving forward from a more balanced place where we actually can be the safety that the feminine is looking for on this planet.
Yeah, there's also a lack of purpose for men out there at the moment. You spoke about war there and going to World War II or going to war for your country, fighting for your country. And as traumatic as that would have been, of course, there is another side to that, that it gave men a purpose, an
Mm,
incredible purpose to serve and fight for my country. What an incredible purpose to have as a man. But these days, a lot of men lack the purpose. They
mm,
have no understanding in terms of why they're here, what they're meant to do. And then they get lost in the distractions, or they just follow the crowd and lose their way. And they're again disconnected from the very reason as to why they're here in this world. And every man has a different purpose. I'm not saying that every man has to become a soldier and go to war. I also believe that there is a different war in the world at the moment. It's not the war of guns and physical battles in that sense. It's the war against
our minds.
perhaps artificial intelligence or minds, yeah. But what's infiltrating the minds at the moment? Artificial intelligence, porn.
Yeah.
There's more, there's easier access now to these pleasurable devices. And when you don't have a purpose in your life, you will continue to exploit pleasure because, hey, what's the point? I've nothing else to do anyway. I don't have anything more important to do. So I'll allow myself to um, pleasure myself in this porn site, or with the rise of AI, who knows what that's going to do to our minds and to our lives. So I feel there's also somewhat of a preparation happening here for what's to come. And it's something I've noticed is the rise of artificial intelligence or this metaverse or whatever's to come from all of that. It's somehow it's somehow merged with the rise of men waking up and beginning to heal, beginning to stand up, beginning to show up, beginning to find a purpose in their life. And I'm just, no, I can't answer this now. I'm just wondering, are we preparing these men for the battles that are to come with whatever comes next with the rise of artificial intelligence and with the technologies? So I just find it interesting that there's a lot more people I'm speaking to now, and a lot more people that you're engaged with that are on this mission to heal and to improve themselves, become better people, become better men, to find a purpose. And at the same time, there's this, seems to be this looming threat of artificial intelligence that could infiltrate our systems physically, mentally, emotionally. And yeah, so deepening the connection with ourselves so we don't lose connection with humankind and
Mm, yeah.
only connect to this soulless being that is chat GPT or artificial intelligence. I know that's going quite deep, but
No, it's a
but
really great point.
yeah,
Something I think actually think about. I do think about a lot. Not just for for men. Just I actually think about this more just for the human society.
yes,
I actually think, they say that the mark of the beast. They've been saying this for obviously for thousands of years, but they say that I just spoke to a really famous bishop, um, that I'm meeting here at the inauguration for Donald Trump, and he was telling me that the mark of the beast is coming in 4 years. And I've heard so many different prophets and people that have talked about, and with especially with AI, and you see all the biggest some of the biggest leaders in the world like Elon, that are petitioning to the government to, hey, we need to make sure that we slow down this AI, this chat GPT. And I think a lot about, like, now there's robots, now they're working on chips to bring into our brains. Like, singularity is here. We're literally attached to our iPhones at the hips. We're walking around with these devices already. We're wearing them, wearables. Like, we're one step away from robots being in our homes. Like, all these movies that we've watched, like, it's all premonitions. Like, I feel like it's all coming. And so, Ready Player One, I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like, my nephew now, he's just like wants to be on that VR headset. And it's just, I think it's not just a war on masculinity, but it's we have a huge role as men to, I think, also to help potentially, like, save humanity, and helping the future generations to understand the value of life, the value of being a human being in this fast-paced world, where we're seeing over the next probably 4 years more advancements that would have taken 100+ years is now going to happen within the next year to 4 years. Who knows what the world's going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, it's going to be insane. So, being more in touch with nature, and I think that's being in touch with our bodies, being in touch with what we're talking about here, and getting back into touch with that, so that way, when there is potentially a Terminator war here, who knows? We really can know how to fight, um,
yeah,
spiritually, as well as being the protectors that our kids and our wives need.
yeah. It's a few things coming to me there. On that first psilocybin retreat, I was taking the mushrooms, and one of the messages that came through to me was nature will always win. Actually, on that first mushroom retreat, I did get uh, a visual of the world today, and we have like one side where it's love and it's green and it's nature and it's real life, and the other side then is where it's this robotic life, this soulless life of AI, porn, virtual reality, all these kind of things. And the message was actually that this is the war that is upon us at the moment, and that men need to step up in order to save others, and but also that nature will always win, and we are all part of nature. We are all part of nature, so there's nothing to fear, because we're all connected. And I think this is something that's so important to realize, is that we are all connected. We're all disconnected from, not we're all, but many of us are disconnected from each other because of our ego, because of this highly competitive society that we've born into, the comparison, the rat race, the chasing, as you know yourself, the chasing of success. And what's the cost of chasing? You lose yourself, you lose touch with yourself, you're not connected to yourself, you lose touch with others, you're not connected with others, and there's a separation there, which leaves you in a very lonely disposition. And when you're lonely, it's a painful place to be. And when you're in a painful place, then this is where the temptations of veering into these pleasurable avenues can really come to fruition, or be really, really can become quite aggressive and quite extreme. So yeah, this is where we're at. We feel, and it's not so much that we have to save every single man.
Yeah.
We have to save ourselves, And as we save ourselves, as we become better men, me and you speaking here today, as we become better men and we step up and we show up from a place of love and purpose
Right,
and
right.
divinity, we're gonna that's gonna transfer into the world, and it's going to inspire others to make changes in their life. You're going to give them something that they may not have in their lives or in their bodies or in their minds at the moment. So we can only save ourselves, but
Man,
by doing so,
that's
we
such
can
a
save others.
powerful mindset, brother. I feel you in that. I mean, recently I've been thinking to myself, like, we're all trying too hard to try to save the world in the same sense. You know, it's like at the end of the day, we got to save ourselves. And so I think what you just said is right on the money. It starts with us, and just by doing that, man, that's healing the planet right there. You know, like doing the work internally, showing up, getting your house in order, showing up for the people that you love around you, you know, taking care of what's in, you know, what's in your control, surrendering because God's got this, you know, like we ain't God, like God's got this. Um, and, you know, yeah, I feel even with nature, I'm like, nature has got this, you know. I mean, I don't know if nature's taking us with it. We'll see what happens. We're a part of it, but I mean, if we don't get our shit together, nature maybe we'll, you know, I mean, I feel like we've been
Well,
getting slaps on the wrist, you know,
yeah.
you know, LA fires just happening. We've had hurricane. We have a lot of things happening. And how many times are we going to keep getting slapped on the wrist? We really got to make some changes, and it starts with us. I'm curious, like, what are you really passionate about? There's your work with masculinity, but is there a huge economic, you know, global problem that you're passionate about solving outside of the work that you're doing around masculinity, or is it really focusing on this particular work around masculinity?
It's focusing on this particular work. You mentioned the economy and the world and the news that's being exposed at the moment in terms of what's happening in the world, the fires, the wars, the poverty, the greed, the politics. But I silence that noise because there is nothing, in my opinion, that's my opinion, and there's nothing I can do to change what's going on in LA. There's nothing I can do to change the economic status of the states or the world or Ireland or I can't influence politicians. So I've got to bring it back to me. And you mentioned something earlier there, and it stuck with me. It was just a word. It was being. And for me, every single day is about being, not about running into the future, not about regretting the past or reliving past mistakes and then being influenced by that pain, which results in you feeling guilty or shame. So it's about being where I am right now. And also, like a huge, there's been a turning point for me in my life at the moment, and a huge turning point has been actually connecting with the higher powers that be, the connecting with God, connecting with the power that I need in order to become this powerful man to influence other people, in order to rise above the noise and the fear that is happening in the world at the moment. So
Wow.
you mentioned the LA fires and you mentioned politics and
Celebrating that,
economics and
bro. Thank you for sharing
all
that.
all the rest of that. You mentioned all those things, but to me, a lot of those things, actually, all of those things are created by man. They're created by men. Nature didn't create those LA fires. Fuck, I'm going to get some hate now, probably. Nature didn't create those LA fires. Nature didn't influence the political agenda. Nature didn't create this confusion around gender. This is all created by men. And at a deeper level, it's been influenced by ego, by greed.
Mm, mm.
And as I mentioned, I switch it off. I don't listen to any news. I don't pay attention to any of the politics that's going on in the world, because that to me is an interference and a distraction in terms of the action I need to take every single day for the people who depend on me every single day to show up for them. I work with men every single day on a one-to-one basis. And if I'm watching news every single night, then that's going to infiltrate my psyche. That's going to disturb my energy, and then I'm showing up to these men from a place of fear, perhaps, or a place of anxiety, or a place of confusion. Say, no, no, I don't. That's okay. For me, at the moment, I take the power of God, and I believe that all of us men have been disciples of God or disciples of Jesus. The disciples weren't just the disciples that were with them when he was here on this earth. We are still the disciples of Jesus, and
Amen.
we're here to continue to bring these messages to the people in order to the men in order to save them from their from their egos, from the decisions they're making from a place of ego,
From the
which
enemy.
is
From the enemy. The enemy
from
is
the
real.
yeah, yeah, um yeah. So I mean, Wayne Dwyer describes the ego as earth guide only, earth guide only. So it's just about the world, it's about the materials, it's about me, but you rise above that and it's about a higher purpose. So you above earth, something more. And a lot of this will go over people's heads. This would have gone completely this is this would have gone completely over my head even a year ago if I started speaking about God or universe or connecting with divine energy. It's like, what? Now I'm here because I've felt it, I've seen it, I've
Yeah.
connected with it, and I needed a couple of rude awakens in order to get to this point. And I hope for every man that they receive this at some point in their life because it will completely change you. And I can speak to you about it because you get it. I know you get it. I know you're with me on this.
Yeah,
These are the
brother. Thank you
conversations.
so much, man. Yeah, such a phenomenal yeah thing that you mentioned around your relationship that you're building with God and this divine energy and yeah, just really celebrating the work you're doing. Thank you so much, man, for having me and for the work you're doing. And I'm looking forward to creating a relationship from here. And yeah, everything you're saying just now, I resonate with. And if you would honestly, I swear, I tried every way to get out of doing a men's mastermind and then like leading men's work. I'm like, who am I to do that? Like I went through a separation. I don't know what it means to be a man. My daughter's only 2 years old. Like I'm a new dad. Like and for whatever reason, man, it was just on my heart. And I just see so many men that are suffering on the planet. I was suffering. I was isolated. I was lonely. And so I wanted to contribute to that problem and trust that God put it on my heart. You know, this is part of my purpose. And there's seasons in life. And you know, I believe in this season for me. I'm in the season of really going deeper into this awareness, integration, and embodiment of my greatness and of what it means for me to be a man to that is integrated, that is sacred masculine, aligned to my heart and spine. And you know, I really love this work, man, because there's something special about I used to fear like men, like trusting men. Like I didn't feel safe with men. I didn't feel safe with myself. And so there when you're able to find that community and you're able to take that next step to saying, hey, this work is important, listen to this work that because this work is the best work, the most important work I feel that we can really do. And it impacts everything else. Like when I work with a lot of business entrepreneurs, I always say like improve the leader, improve the business. Like you want all this scaling and you want all this, you know, you want to scale the business and you want all this business growth. Well, it starts with you as the leader, right? And I really feel that this men's work, this work of your masculinity, when we do this, man, and we heal and we start to integrate this, like everything changes because our way, our energy management, our time management, the way that like you're mentioning, like how you're keeping clear of things that are infiltrating you, you're clearer. And man, our focus is our most important commodity that we have, and it's so, like we are the leaders that make the decisions for that I feel the women are relying on. It doesn't mean that they're not participating in these decisions, but women want to be led. They're craving real men in the world. They want us to lead But in order to lead, we have to earn that, and we have to be integrated, and we have to be clear in our minds and our hearts and our bodies. We have to be aligned to our core values, and make decisions from that rooted place of what's not just good for me anymore. The little boy that's making decisions with his fucking his other brain, but like making decisions as to, hey, what's best for the whole. It's thinking about the whole. It's thinking about the family unit. It's thinking about how this decision plays a role in others and in the world. Um, but it takes time to
If you, if yeah, sorry, just um, something just came right to my fucking the tip of my tongue there, and I had to get
go
it
for it. Go for
out.
it.
Apologies for interrupting you. And no, we often talk about breaking the generational trauma. Yeah. So the trauma that our grandfathers, great grandfathers, great great grandfathers have carried with them through their lives, which then was transferred over to the next generation, and on it goes until it comes to us. Comes to us, and our parents, our grandparents didn't have the resources, the information, the opportunity, perhaps, to do this level of healing because the opportunities weren't presented to them. The world has changed since we were children, but then understanding that someday there's going to be you're going to be the great great
Yeah.
great grandfather. You're going to be the grandfather, great grandfather, the great great grandfather. So what's your great great grandson going to say about you? I'm so thankful of those men from generations ago who did the healing, who stood up, who led from a place of integrity and purpose so I could be this man that I am today? Or are you going to be another disappointment to the next generation? So you mentioned you mentioned the word whole, doing this for the whole, and that's what's come to my mind in terms of like there's a whole there's more and more generations to come after you leave this
Yeah.
earth. So how you show up today, which then transfers over to the generation of today, which carries then to the next generation, and on it goes. And in a few generations, they'll be either thanking us for the work we've done, or they'll still be standing there going, "Yeah, generational trauma carried on to today. It's made life worse." So it's 100% our responsibility today to address it because we do have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
It's unfair of us to blame our parents or grandparents for not having done the work because
Yep. Yep.
they were so disconnected from that way of being or thinking, or so disconnected from their emotions. There was no information, or very very little information out there about healing, about healing trauma. But we have the information,
Well,
and
they
if
were
we don't
trying
use
to.
it,
Sorry.
that's on us. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were just a lot of them were just trying to survive, right? Like they were trying to figure out how to survive, and like you
Yeah.
said, they were doing the
Put
best
food on
they
the table.
can with
Yeah.
what they had. And part of it is like, man, I feel so grateful. So like I think we what an opportunity we all have. I mean, it's so amazing for us to be the torchbearers now, and have the opportunities we have now. And so yeah, as much as I know I had to heal some shit, I am just so thankful for what my great grandparents, my parents, my great grand, like all of it. I'm just, when we can come into that full gratitude and no longer be victims of like, oh, this happened. Like we have this opportunity to shift it forward in and yeah, man, it's like really exciting that we finally get to now have consciousness. Like I didn't even know this word consciousness most of my life. Now my daughter's 2 years old. She knows she's learning breath work at 1, 2 years old. I didn't learn this stuff until I was in my 30s. I'm like, man, this is insane. What are our kids and great grandkids going to create from that place? And I love studying legacies where the grandkids, the kids and the grandkids, like I like studying what actually has the families creating that generational wealth, and what are the ones that actually lose it because there's such a high percentage of them that after 3 generations lose all of that. And but there's some there's some generations that go through that, and it's really exciting to see how the sons and the daughters, how they were able to take a little bit. Like, I look at Donald Trump. His dad gave him $1 million, but now he's the president of the United States of America again. You know, like he was able to really take what was passed to him and take it to a whole nother level. And that's, we have the opportunity to do that within our own lineages, and that's exciting. You know, and really it's setting it up. Like, it's not even like, how do we set up the next where they take it to a whole nother level? And it's like, that's our job. You know, where are we passing that torch at that sets up that next generation? Because I really think the legacy is essentially the seeds we plant that one day will grow into the tree that we won't see, that will create the shade that we won't see one day.
Fucking love it, man. Yeah. I hope that lights a fire in the belly for every man listening to this tonight. Thank you so much, Jared. I could go on and on here. There's plenty more topics of conversation I could bring forward, but we're busy men. We're on a mission here, yes, and striving towards our purpose in life. So I've got to let you go. But before I do so, again, so grateful for having you here, not just on this podcast, but in this world and the work you do, and incredibly important work that you're doing with the men now. Really excited for what's to come with that. And I will meet you
Mm.
on that third mountain in due course. And yes, before I go, please let everyone know where they can reach out to you, find out more about you. Your content is amazing as well on social media. So let us all know.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
brother, so much, man. I really received that. Feels so beautiful, and you know, I feel seen in that, you know, in that work. And so thank you. You know, it's not easy to do, put yourself out there online, running retreats, doing all of this stuff. Um, and so I really appreciate, you know, being seen in that, because I'm proud of it. And I'm going to continue to keep doing it. And I look forward to us climbing that mountain together. Um, and yeah, brother, everybody who like to, I'd love to connect with you guys. I just launched today a new website, gerardadams.com, GerardAdams, gerardadams.com. And I have a new newsletter. It'll be a leadership weekly newsletter. So highly recommend, go to gerardadams.com, get on the newsletter. You'll find out about my things there. And then I'm very active on Instagram. It's my number one platform. At Gerard Adams is the Instagram. And I'm relaunching the Leaders Create Leaders show at 7 seasons. I'd love to get you on the podcast, brother. So I'll definitely be reaching out to you to have you on the show. And thanks again for having me.
Look forward to that, my man. And thank you again, Jared. Go and get after it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.